Welcome to Between Two Chairs, Demystifying Commercial Real Estate, the podcast that brings you the latest insights and trends on the South Florida commercial real estate market, with your hosts, Fernando Arencibia Jr. and Jennifer Woolman. In each episode, we dive into the world of commercial real estate and break down complex concepts to make them accessible for everyone. Whether you're a real estate professional, a curious investor, or just interested in the South Florida market in general, Between Two Chairs is the podcast for you. So pull up a chair and join us.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on another episode of Between Two Chairs. My name is Fernando Arencibia, and with me, as always, is the Energizer Bunny of commercial real estate, a woman that is full of passion and energy, Jennifer Woolman. Jennifer, say hi.
Hi, everybody. The Energizer Bunny. I feel like I should have a drum to bang.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we have a very special guest joining us today, and a very special episode. Jennifer and I always look forward to these interview episodes. So, Jennifer, would you introduce our guest?
Sure. It's another Jennifer because, greatest name ever. But Jennifer Gerson is the Director of Community Engagement of Dade County Federal Credit Union. And she's been so involved everywhere. I see her at Miami Realtor events. I see her at community newspaper events. And the credit union has been a part of our community since 1939 when it was founded. Wow. So I thought, we need to have her on our show. We need to have her on our show so she can tell us all about her role. I love the name community engagement, whatever it is following or what sentence it's in. So Jennifer, before we get started, can you tell us a bit about yourself and the journey that brought you to where you are today?
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me onto the show. I love doing these things and talking about credit unions and small business lending and everything that goes along with that. I started my credit union journey about 24 years ago when I interviewed with this credit union that I didn't even know what it was. And I came from luxury travel, so it was quite the 180 turn, but I grew to love this industry, and credit unions do wonderful things both for people personally and for their businesses. And the Director of Community Engagement encompasses a lot. It's engaging the community, which is why you see me out everywhere, which is my first love, to be honest. And my department also oversees our small business lending program. We have a P3 private public partnership with Miami-Dade County where we created the RISE loan program for small businesses in Miami-Dade County to help them access capital in an easier way than it would take to go to a bank or the SBA. Not to say that they still don't need to provide paperwork, they absolutely do, but we walk them through the process. We provide them templates for what they don't have, and we help put capital back into our small business ecosystem down here in Miami-Dade.
I love that. We're big promoters of small business. Obviously, it's the part that we love the most about commercial real estate. And that's why I thought it would be great to have you so you can expand, tell some stories of small businesses, et cetera. Now, a little bit about Dade County Federal Credit Union. Tell me a bit about credit unions, how they're different from smaller community banks, where you guys work together, how you help small business, et cetera, because I'm going to confess, I'm not a Dade County employee, so I always thought that you had to be a member of the county government to be a member of the credit union.
Right. So that credit union stigma is still out there, right? Like you need to be part of the county to belong to Dade County Federal. If you need to be working for a certain organization to be a part of that credit union. But credit unions have evolved over the years so that we can serve the mainstream, right? So now if you live, work, worship, or attend school in Miami-Dade or Broward County, you can bank with Dade County Federal Credit Union. We've expanded our field of membership to include Broward. So we are also expanding our footprint up to Broward. So credit unions, the difference between credit unions and community banks are similar, except credit unions are not for profit, right? So the profits go back to the members in the form of higher rates on their deposits and lower rates on their loans. And the nice thing about banking at a credit union is you're a part owner. So you have a share in a credit union. So $5 of your savings account is your share in the credit union. So things are open to the credit union membership to vote at an annual meeting and so on and so forth. So you're not an account number. You're part of the family once you join the credit union.
I love that. Okay. See, I've learned something new every day, which is why I like these interviews. So if you want to own a bank but don't have the money to own a bank, you can be a credit union member and own part of
that credit union.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that. So it's more like, would you describe it as a co-op?
Yeah, cooperative.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
It is more of a co-op than a condo. So, perfect.
Tell me a little bit about the way in which, because your structure is different than a small community bank, and of course, your client is also a shareholder in the venture. How are your underwriting guidelines differentiate themselves from when you go to a community bank or a big national bank?
So underwriting guidelines still exist, right? So just like banks are regulated by the FDIC, credit unions are regulated by the NCUA. So it's two different organizations doing the same thing for two different types of institutions. So guidelines are still there. Underwriting guidelines are still there. We still have policies and procedures and regulations that we have to adhere to, which basically are the same regulations that banks have to adhere to. We just try to be nicer about it.
Of course. And I found that interesting, the idea that the profits go back into the membership and in the form of higher rates for savings accounts, lower rates for accounts. I'll be full disclosure, we have one auto loan in our household in Dade County Federal Credit Union. And part of what was the rates were lower, very competitive. And so I'm wondering about that. How do you make those rates so competitive compared to the marketplace?
Because we put our profits back into lowering rates.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
At the end of the day, people don't realize how much they're actually paying in interest, right? If you look at the interest over the lifetime of a loan, that 1% savings is a huge savings, especially with, car loans. The norm used to be 36 months, or you would stretch it to 60 to make an affordable payment. Now you're stretching auto loans to 84 months to have an affordable payment. It's typically longer than the life cycle of you keeping the car. People don't understand that lower rates make a big difference in what you're laying out on a monthly basis.
Talk to us a little bit about loans for real property, for real estate, especially on the commercial side. What's your sweet spot in regards to that kind of loan? What kind of loans do you guys or products do you guys have for commercial real estate?
So we have that's a whole different department here, our commercial real estate department. And they have a full suite of loans. The sweet spot, I don't want to give you a wrong number, so I'm not going to attest to a number. But if anybody wants to get in touch with our commercial lending department, I'm happy to put anybody in touch with them. But we do have a full service commercial real estate department.
Would it be fair to say that they are more apt to look at owner-occupied commercial real estate versus investor commercial real estate, or not necessarily?
I think that would be absolutely fair to say, yes.
So I know let's focus on the small business loans, since that's part of your department and your outreach and everything. I know you guys had a very big assertive goal, which I love, of servicing 200 small businesses and investing a total of $10 million in the community for 2025. Do you know if you're close to those goals or how that's going?
So our 2025 goal started at 5 million, right? And then we put this big egregious goal to lend to 200 businesses, which we've already exceeded. As of October 31st, we have already closed 223 loans this year. And we are going to meet that $10 million by the end of the year, because as of the end of October, we're at 8.9 million. So we have put $8.9 million back into this ecosystem in helping small businesses cater to their audience, right? small businesses are the heartbeat of this county. There are more small businesses in this county than any. The last statistic I looked at, it was 84% of businesses in Miami-Dade are small businesses. So, when we're lending to these business owners, we're helping them and maybe the 2 to 5 employees that they employ scale their business to the next level and let them all grow within their specialties.
And I love that this is coming from the County Federal Credit Union, because the county, there's such an entrepreneurial spirit here to
Yes.
the point of that statistic. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the average type of loan that you are providing to small businesses?
So the maximum loan amount is $75,000. I want to say the average loan is probably about $40,000, depending on what their needs are, how much we can lend to them based on their tax returns and so on and so forth. One of the biggest things with small business owners is they don't realize, everybody tries to write off every expense in their taxes, right? Nobody wants to pay taxes. We don't want to pay taxes either, but it comes out of our paychecks. We're forced to pay taxes. So small business lenders need to understand that they also need to be lendable, right? We look at everything from a holistic point of view. We look at cash flows, their tax returns, everything to try to give them as much as we can. But they have to keep in mind, and they need to get with the right accountants to make themselves lendable. Because if they're not expensing everything out of their business taxes, they're turning around and expensing it out of their personal taxes. And from a business lending perspective, we need to make sure that you are capable of paying that loan back, right? We don't want to put you in a position where we're lending you money where it's creating a hardship for you. That's the last thing we want to do, right? We want to make sure that you can afford that loan and continue to grow your business so that, in 2 years or 5 years, you could go out and get another loan, right? And continue to scale and grow and become, that dream business that you dreamed of, when you started a couple of years ago.
And these are all working capital loans, basically?
So basically, we ask for a use of funds, and you can place working capital, although that is a very vague statement, right? So we do ask for a little bit more details. Are you using this to expand your footprint? Do you need to buy inventory? Are you trying to stock up for the holidays? Some people earlier this year were trying to stock up before the tariffs went in place, right? We saw a lot of loan applications for that. We'll also see people get themselves into loans that are unaffordable. I don't want to say predatory, but just like there are payday lenders for consumers, there is these outrageous loans for small business owners where it's so easy with a click of a button they get funded these loans, but they're not realizing that. For what I looked at one the other day, they're paying 43% interest on that loan. And you cannot climb out of that hole, right?
Ever.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's not. I'm a big. One of my things is about predatory lending, and we had another program here that was in our department, not for businesses, but it was a payday rescue program to help people get out of that vicious cycle of predatory debt. Because once you get in it, it is so hard to climb out of it. And, it's also hard to break that habit, right? This was easy money. I need money. I'm going to go get more easy money. And you never get out of that. It's very hard to. I'm not going to say never, but it's extremely hard to escape that cycle.
So speaking of predatory lending, do you guys issue credit cards? Because I know we've been hearing about the credit card debt increasing significantly over the last, couple of quarters. And, that's one of those things where I always told my kids, be careful, because even though it's not 45%, 23% is pretty high and pretty hard to get out of if you're continually adding.
It is. And a lot of credit cards are in the 30s now, right? 30-something percent. We are actually just launching our business credit cards, and before the end of the year, we're going to launch our business credit cards. And the great thing about a credit union is we can't charge more than 18% interest, right? We have a cap. So even I haven't gotten the one pager on what the interest rates are going to be yet, but they will be less than 18%. And even our personal credit cards too, they're a bargain compared to what other credit cards are out there for personal or business. And, I always teach my kids too, right? Don't charge what you can't afford to pay back, right? We all want to put everything on our credit card so we can earn points or cash back or whatever, but keep on top of it, go to your apps, look and see what you owe. Do you need to slow your roll this month so you can afford to pay for what you're buying? Because everybody puts their daily needs on their credit cards now. Cash doesn't exist.
Right. Well, it also makes it so much clearer. Like I used to love cash until had to do an accounting for my, advisor that said, come up with your budget and how much are you spending? And I'm like, I don't know, it's cash. But
right.
now with a credit
At the end
card,
of the year,
it's
our
really
credit
easy.
cards give us like a breakdown of how we spent everything. It's just so much easier. And, cash isn't king anymore. Look, they're not making pennies anymore. Those are done.
I know. No, it's crazy.
And it's hard to teach the younger generations and the new business owners that, because they kind of grew up in that generation where everything's just a piece of plastic, right? But you have to go into the back end and see what you're doing with that plastic and stay on top of it. You're not running out of cash anymore.
Right. And I love the fact that you guys do have like a young financial literacy program that you have.
Our Gen U program.
I love that because I feel like those are things that aren't taught in our schools. Our schools are great. They teach a lot of stuff, but financial literacy, which is a basic, human requirement when you're on your own, is not taught. So I love that you do that. Do you have something similar for small businesses?
Yeah, it's called Gen G. So me and my team, we go out there and we teach access to capital workshops, and we get very involved, especially with, the different districts in the county. And we're constantly out there, doing these small little workshops to help small business owners understand, the ways to go get capital in an affordable manner.
And what do you think is the one piece of education that is the most needed? When you go out there and you see what the need is among most small businesses in Dade County.
I think the most important lesson to learn is you need to get capital when you don't need capital, because when you're desperate for capital is when you start getting into these easy, unaffordable loans, right? So, I think you have to make sure that you team up with the right accountant, right? That's going to guide you into becoming lendable. And I think you need to, have short-term and long-term plans, right? And if you're trying to, say, get approved by the county to apply for county contracts, for example, then make sure that you have that capital ready for when you get awarded that contract, right? Because then you're gonna be having a flow of cash going out the door. You might need extra cash to be able to fund those contracts or fund those new jobs or whatever it might be, or getting inventory for the holiday season. So, the best advice I could give is be prepared for what's coming in the future.
I love that. And one of our partners, Enrique Teran, he always says that to residential agents to say, look, if you have a home equity line of credit, because you never have to draw on it. But when you need the money is not the time to be going out and applying for it. So I love that.
Yeah, when your roof is caving in, you don't want to be scrambling for the money, or your air conditioning goes out in July.
Correct. So I love that apply for it before you need it.
Well, I remember one time I read a biography of Walt Disney. And he was saying that he was talking to a lender, and they were financing one of the early films, and the lender was getting nervous and wanted to pull the loan, and he goes like, man, you guys, you would lend a guy an umbrella on a sunshiny day, and the moment that a drop of water starts to come down, you want to take it away. And what he was really saying is, yeah, you got to borrow during the bright, shiny day times for a rainy day. You don't borrow when you're in the middle of the storm. So I think it's a great analogy, and I think it's a valuable asset that is there. You've been around a long time. I'm sure you've seen a lot of great, small businesses that have become, successful. How has that experience been from your purview? The fact that you've been a part of that process.
Oh my God, it's such a nice feeling. Like, I say I could lay my head on my pillow at night knowing I'm doing good things for local, normal people, right? These small business owners. We have several business owners that have come back for a second and now third business loan, right? Because they keep scaling their business. We have one, her name is Pamela Wasabi, and she just came back for her third loan, and she is a vegan bakery.
I love her.
And
I follow her.
she's awesome. Yeah. If you go to our Instagram page, so what we also do for our Rise loan holders that want to do it, we offer them the opportunity. We send our film crew out there to talk about not only their lending experience, but about their business. And then we have a big following on our Instagram. If you go to Rise Miami Dade, follow us. You will see so many cool stories of our businesses and what they've done.
We're both like,
yeah, I know. Follow. And what they've done with the capital, and the common denominator in their stories is how accessible and easy it was to get the loan. And like I said, I give you a dedicated person. They hold your hand throughout the entire process. I have a wonderful team here. And, it's stories like Pamela. There's another recent one is a Taekwondo, a karate school that's out there. There's so many, but there's certain ones that stick out in my head. A gentleman that owns like a kid's bus service. And, he's helping pick up children for parents that have to go to work and can't take their kids to school. So there's so many. I encourage you to go out there and watch some of the videos. They're fun and
he's already got it.
He's showing you.
Yes.
Already following. I love it.
And there's also quick tips out there of stuff that we film, me and my team and other people in the credit union that, we'll give you quick tips as to, what to do when you're trying to apply for the loan.
I like that. I also have found, in when you're doing these outreach and you're doing these classes, what place, do you have a conversation about when they're ready to look for a brick and mortar store, dealing with, commercial leasing, the intricacies of it, what to look for, those kind of things?
No, but I'd love to do that.
Well,
I just put a note. We need to have a weekend seminar where we're going to bring people in.
It's interesting because, the subtitle of this podcast is Demystifying Commercial Real Estate. And we've done episodes that speak to that specifically. And partly is because, I've met so many small business owners in Dade County that, when they got into their first lease, they didn't even know that they could negotiate some tenant improvement credit. They just felt like, well, it's just like leasing a property. It is what it is. If the landlord says this is what it is, and they got into, situations that could have been a lot more comfortable, let's say, and usually by the time they get to their second lease, they know better. They've learned their lesson, but it'd be great if they knew from the beginning and they had the right representation.
Right, because some of them are costly. I remember when one small business was a restaurant and they were great, but we went in and we're like, well, what their menu was so limited, and it was because they were in a strip whose major, who there was another restaurant and they had an exclusive on, so they couldn't sell or promote or offer anything that was related to that menu. So they were limited, and they didn't even last a year, which was really sad because there was the lease. Sad. They'd spent money doing the build out. They'd spent money on the advertising, on their name, on getting their name out there on Goodwill. And so it was such a huge step back, and we hate seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got to talk and see how we can help you add value in those educational sessions, and make sure that they're empowered. Because I think that this is really a big part of what we're talking about, is empowering small businesses who really are the lifeblood of our economy in Dade County and really throughout the state of Florida. The numbers bear it out. Small businesses, do so much for our community, for our cities, for our state, and our nation. So kudos to you for working on this. I could see why you can lay your head on your pillow very comfortably at night for the great work that you're doing.
Right back at you, right? And people sometimes forget that knowledge is power, right? And sometimes they think they can save money by not using a realtor, but they don't understand whether it's on buying a home or getting a lease for a business or buying your first building, right? You need to rely on the expertise of others in order to get yourself where you want to be. Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't do everything by yourself. And it really behooves you to use the knowledge of others to help you get to where you need to be.
There's something really powerful about, going to a source that you can trust. because we get so bombarded with information. I mean, every piece of information is out there. But it's hard to really, put it together. It's hard to really trust it and to see how you can apply it, right? Because information that if you can't apply it, if it doesn't turn into action, then it kind of loses its purpose, which is what I love about the program that you're talking about, because you're not only lending money, but you're also putting a spotlight on these businesses. You're guiding them on how to do things better and how to be, better structured. Would you say that, as you're looking at financial literacy and you're looking at how these small businesses come in, and something that you mentioned a couple of times, that the biggest skill that a small business has to learn is how to properly do the accounting? It sounds like that is probably the most lacking thing, right? Because you're working in the business, you're making a product or you're providing a service, so you're focusing all your attention into that. You focus a lot of your attention into the marketing, and then the accounting part kind of gets pushed to the background until you have to file, pretty much, right?
Well, that's the thing. Small business owners are great at doing what they're great at, baking cupcakes, building cabinets, whatever their business is, but they're not good at accounting, right? And that's fine. But, maybe you start with like one of those online or whatever your bank account provides for you to put stuff in. And maybe it's good to go take a course so you gain more knowledge. But, that's the thing, is they get so bogged down in their daily, which they're small business owners. They're doing a lot, right? They're doing everything from soup to nuts. And if not, you really need to find somebody you can trust.
What I find really interesting is one of the things that we always encourage our agents to do is to see themselves as connectors, right? Because, the idea is that if somebody has any questions on real estate, whether it's commercial, residential, whatever it is, that they would be the go-to person. Because if they don't have the answer, they know how to find it. If they're not the right person, they can refer. And I just realized that Jennifer has, imagine if you need a carpenter, if you need, a baker, if you need an executive chef for a night, right. I'm sure
she's got access to all.
Exactly. Like, she's the person to call. Jennifer, I need this. What do you think?
So you're not going to be our main connector. We're going to be like, I don't know, but let me get Jen G.
I love it. I love it.
I love the stories that you have. Are there, in addition to the ones where, the small business wrote everything off, what are some other things that you've seen that have affected a small business? What are errors they've made or mistakes? Because we always, cautionary tales, like
credit score. Make sure you stay on top of your credit score, right? People don't realize that the credit score you get on your monthly statement or whatnot, it's not really your real credit score. Those are soft pull scores, right? So when you go to get a loan, it's a hard pull and it's always different. And that's hard. That's a hard thing for people to grasp, right? Because it could be a 20-point swing. And so those credit scores that you're getting access to in your banks or your credit cards, that's just kind of, it's not an actual score, but it gives you an idea of where you are. Make sure you're registered in SunBiz and that you're active in SunBiz. A lot of people forget to renew their SunBiz. We see that a lot. People, will apply and then they're inactive. We need to make sure that they go back in and activate themselves, which is very easy. It's hard to stay on top of all those little things all the time. Make sure you wouldn't believe like how many people's IDs are expired. Like, make sure all of your things, we all forget about our passport in the drawer, right? So, and I don't think we get a reminder for our passport. You get a reminder for a fishing license, but you don't get a reminder for a passport. And just dot your I's and cross your T's, right? Like, make sure that, you put aside, a few minutes every month just to check on your things and make sure that, everything is where it needs to be.
And startup tips. Do you have a calendar of events? I know it's mostly speaking with you to go over what is needed, because my guess is it's super, super individual, right? Based on their business and their needs. But absolutely. Are there some general tips in terms of if you're thinking of starting a business, or if you already have a business but you're trying to expand and you need funds?
my biggest recommendation is we're partners with Strive 305 with the county. The Strive 305 hub has an absorbent amount of information for people that are starting up, people at all stages in their business, and they offer so many resources. I'm sending one of my staff members to an event today for the Strive 305. But Strive 305, was one of the mayor's initiatives a couple of years ago, and over the past year under Manny Sid's leadership, it has really grown. And there's really, go to strive305hub.com and register yourself, and you will find access to all of your questions out there.
Perfect. We're going to put that in our show notes too.
There's also, if I could give another shout out, Dade County Federal Credit Union is a CDFI, and there's also other CDFIs out there. For example, you mentioned startups. We don't do startups, right? You have to be in business for 2 years plus, but there's other organizations like Miami Bayside Foundation that do have programs for startups that are looking for some startup capital. So do your research, and depending on what stage you are in your business, there are more organizations than just us that can help you.
Okay, sorry, I'm Googling what CDFI is.
Community Development Financial Institution.
Nice.
So, there are certain organizations out there, and it's a designation that you have to apply for, report on. It's not easy. The CDFI was just part of the shutdown from the government. They are back up and running now, but you have to do a lot of reporting on your lending in order to stay a CDFI. They want to make sure that you are serving the underserved, right? Credit unions do that naturally. Miami is a low-income designated county, so naturally Dade County Federal Credit Union fits in the box of a CDFI, and credit unions also fit in the box of a CDFI on whole because we can't charge high interest rates. But again, it's not easy to keep your accreditation. All CDFIs had to recertify last year because there were some changes in CDFI world, but it's a great designation to have, and it really helps you serve the underserved because you can apply for grants that you can apply towards the lending programs you create to serve the people in your footprint.
That's awesome. And I would be remiss, Jennifer, if I didn't ask you, because a lot of times when you're driving by the credit union, there's a lot of events happening. It feels like there's always a party going on. So tell us a little bit about that component of the credit union.
We have an amazing marketing team here that gets us very involved in our community. Community is very important to us. We do things from run clubs to Zumba classes at night on the rooftop of our garage. We stay very involved in different community events. Yesterday, we gave out 200 turkeys, 100 up in Miami Gardens and another 100 down in Homestead. We do thousands of toys in a toy drive every year. We like to stay connected to the people that need us in our community. We're very involved with different nonprofits down here to help reach. It's very important for us that kids have somewhere to go after school. So places like Branches and Be Strong and Touching Miami with Love, we support them because we want to be able to, we don't want those kids to be on the street after school doing bad things, right? We want them learning, how to take the next step in life. So we are super involved in all of that stuff. We also hold car sales so people get fair prices on cars. We just had one last weekend here again. It's our mission to help serve the underserved and to help serve the people that, just don't know how to do it for themselves.
Yeah, what an amazing mission. Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there anything that you wanted to say that we didn't ask you about, or something that you want to share with us that?
Oh, well, I could talk to you guys all day long. We could go from subject to subject to subject, but I think we put a little bit of everything out there. And, I encourage people, if they want to contact me, go to our website and find my email address. And we're always here to help. You can always email communityengagement@dcfcu.org. We'll give you the advice we can give you if you need it. And, we're here to serve whenever you're ready to contact us.
I love that. And we'll put all your contact information in our show notes, and take it from Fernando, who has a car loan with them. This isn't just for real estate, but for your personal.
I love something that Jennifer said earlier. Like if you live, work, play, worship in Dade County,
or attend school
in Dade County, you could be a member of the Dade County Federal Credit Union. So definitely highly recommend that you look into it. There's a lot of value, not only for small businesses, but just for residents and people that have families. Absolutely. It's a lot of great stuff. So thank you, Jennifer, for joining us. I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening to another episode of Between Two Chairs. As we're getting down into the holiday season, we are looking forward to wrapping up the year. So thank you again for being an active listener and chiming in. Bye, everybody. Say bye, Jennifer.
Bye, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me.